things on my mind. Stacking money like 365. There's a lot of things on my mind. Stacking money like 365. There's a lot of things on my mind. Stacking money like 365. There's a lot of things on my mind. Stacking money like 365. They say history is written by the victor, so I don't mind playing the villain. Got a pretty girl to the throne. 'Cause the memories come and I can't even run. I gotta win this just to prove to me I can. I'll divide and I will conquer. I will battle like a warrior. If I'm dying, getting stronger. I'll divide and I will conquer. You're like all I ever wanted, but couldn't afford. I know you like feeling haunted. What a pretty girl leave you bored. 'Cause the memories go and I can't even run. I gotta win this just to prove to me I can. I'll divide and I will conquer. I will battle like a warrior. If I'm dying, getting stronger. I'll divide and I will conquer. I'll divide and I will conquer. I will battle like a warrior. If I'm dying, getting stronger. I'll divide and I will conquer.
So hold on to me. Never let me close your eyes. Only got one night. Just put your trust in me. Give me everything. I need your love tonight. So baby, please don't fight it. Put your trust in me. I'll give you everything. So hold on to me. Never let me go. Right here in your arms is where I wanna be.
Bass. Bass.
Close your eyes, only got one night. Just put your trust in me. Give me everything. I need your love tonight. So baby, please don't fight it. Put your trust in me. I'll give you everything. So hold on to me. Never let me go. Right here in your arms is where I wanna be.
Come on. Come on. The loving in my heart won't break it through. I never wanna say that we are through. I'm holding on to what we still have left. And yeah, you know me. The love I give is the love I got. So don't walk away. Don't just leave it all just to watch it fade away. Just to watch it fade away.
Spin the chamber, look outside. Just another danger, just another white line. And we try, and we might be just the first line. But what if you're right this time? They rise up under cover of the darkness. You better make sure all your weapons are all sharp and so
what you want, say what you want, say what you want. Say what you want, say what you want, say what you want. Say what you want, say what you want, say what you want. Say what you want, say what you want, say what you want.
Who's gonna save me? Who's gonna save me? Who's gonna save me? Who's gonna save me? Who's gonna save me?
Say what you want, say what you want. Say what you want, say what you want, say what you want. Say what you want, say what you want, say what you want. Say what you want, say what you want, say what you want.
Who's gonna save me? Who's gonna save me? Who's gonna save me? Who's gonna save me? Who's gonna save me?
Look at making the work. Aquatic finally making some inroads here on behalf of.
Absolutely gets in the back. Shadows.
Oh my
Oh,
god. Hello?
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 Uh-oh.
Hello?
Blur? Hello?
I don't think there's time. They're not gonna get back in touch. Somebody's noticed. No.
33% to a bomb, but BDO sitting with 4 ultimates of their own. This next fight.
They can follow up a little bit of aggression. This effect could be used. I think this is everybody. He does.
The anti-nade came through, and as much as we saw, man, this is dirty. Oh
Yeah,
no.
Alfian popping it on everyone. The long spawns and over.
Wow.
It looks like look at Killer Talks. Oh my god! Look at triple. Look at these different. I need coming out. Careful. Try and take up the. Let's get it. Oh, there's a tip. All right, welcome everybody back to the Pride Cup 2020, day 2, round 2. Oh, I'm excited, but I'm not alone. My name is Sun Phoenix, as you know, and I'm joined not by Blur this time, and instead by an old favorite of ours, Naoru Mizuki. Welcome.
Hey, good to be back. Pretty excited for this cup. It's a great cause. It's one that's close to my heart, so pretty excited to get some knowledge out there, get some awareness, and have some fun games.
Absolutely, looking forward to it. We had a really fun game yesterday, which I'm sure you watched and were really enjoying, Nori. Between 7-Eleven and Angang. Close game, 2 different philosophies going into that in terms of how the teams are balanced. And we're looking at a fairly similar thing today. Quite a high-level player on one of the teams, and then it kind of balances out after that versus the other team, which is way more balanced within a kind of much narrower SR range. So let's introduce the teams. Hammers Kill. Oh, these names, they suck. All of them, they're the worst. Hammers Kill.
They're quite bad.
Is our first team here, and they're pretty balanced SR-wise. Of course, all teams are balanced around 2-6, 2-8, around that kind of range. So won't be too much discrepancy in that, but how the SR is distributed within the team makes quite a big difference. So we saw how that played out yesterday. Pale Native, likely to be on that off-tank role. Of course, Calypso Stalwart, somebody we know quite well. Sylvania, likely to be on the main tank from recently moved to Cubs. Shadowscript and Maestro on the DPS. Now, Maestro, high-level player, plays for Evo, as we know, but on DPS here, not a role we're used to seeing him on. Usually he does play the main tank for that team, so it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. Shadowscript recently joined TSG, interesting to see how he performs. Lolgod was an old member of TSG, and then we have Peach, who I believe is Pale Native's significant other and is not currently on a team. So decent spread of SR here and a few quite familiar names. Yeah, not to be confused with the real Peach.
A lot of peaches. We've got tons of peaches and tons of bubbles. There's a lot of confusion out here, but
and it's about to get more confusing because you're about to introduce the next team.
Oh my god! So we've got Crocs without socks, but their highest level player on the team, who everyone should know by now, 2CP player Tox in socks. So we've got Tox in socks on Crocs without socks.
It's awful, just the worst.
You know what? Anyway, moving swiftly along from that very unfortunate situation. We got Amali going to be running the tank today, and Palnatok alongside. It's going to be a pretty strong tank lineup there. Then over on the DPS, Lime Oros. Cool.
Great name.
Great name, dude. It took me a second. I was like, Limioros? No, that's Lime Oros. Okay. And then we got Overload, going to be backing him up, both of them in fact from RSN, a team they currently play for. And then rounding up the support lineup, I did mention Tox, we got Adagio, currently playing for Solo. And this kind of, you were talking about how one team is a little bit more balanced than the other. Now we see that Hammers Kill, they're all kind of in the 2,500 to 3,000 bracket, fairly close there. Tox being one of those players over on Crocs without socks, 4,100 player, and then everybody else again 2,500 to about 3K. So we've got that one kind of stalwart player, and usually when that's your DPS, you expect a lot of resources to be put into that DPS to pop off, but it is going to be the support. However, if we see Tox running that Ana, I mean, it could be just as dangerous as him being on a DPS.
Absolutely. We've seen guys like Squishy, especially on that Ana, make just such a difference. Basically playing a DPS or having the same amount of impact as a DPS. And this is what we saw yesterday. I mentioned it before, but Aquatic on Angang, obviously quite a high level player, actually also from 2CP, popping off on that DPS, and the narrative of the whole game was, how do you deal with Aquatic? And 7-Eleven found a way to deal with him, and they ended up winning that series quite comfortably at the end of it. But you could see a similar thing here, but I agree, with him on support, it's not quite the same dynamic. It's going to be interesting to see how that affects how this game plays out. Also, though, I think Tox is a bit more of a leadership figure, so that might be very useful in this kind of situation where these players don't know each other that well. They don't practice together. I'm sure they put a little bit of time in before the tournament started, but these are not like pre-made teams. So having a strong leadership figure who can guide the team is going to be quite important, I think, and Tox, pretty good player to do that. And we saw him last year, actually, that in the Talent Cup, his team performed quite well as well. So I'm expecting more of the same out of Crocs socks.
Well, especially when you consider that he is in fact one of those. Jeez, it's a really terrible name. Anyway, when you
Talent Cup, his team was called Toxic Crocs.
No.
Now it's called Crocs without socks.
It is terrible. I think we should just ban the South African players from naming teams. You just may not.
Ban socks from naming teams.
Anyway, just kind of piggybacking on that point that you were making a little earlier, with Tox being such a stalwart member of the community, he's been around for quite some time. He's been on high tier teams for basically his entire South African career. So yeah, really great person to have in that leadership role to help guide this team through. I think that's going to work out quite well for them. But let's take a look. Our very first map for today is going to be Lijiang Tower, and I'm really excited to see this. Of course, we normally do start off with that control type map. That's pretty standard. It's what we like to see. You can't draw on one of these, so it really does give teams a nice little solid stepping stone into the very first match. They get that 1 point on the board. However, one of those things that I do kind of tend to mention is that control is one of its own little beast. And you tend to get away a lot more with just your pure mechanical skill as opposed to how you work as a team. So that first point capture can be very misleading.
Absolutely. You're going to be interesting to see how this plays out and how the different team dynamics end up working out. Yesterday's match, we actually saw quite a back and forth series. So to your point, just because you win control doesn't mean you're in the driver's seat throughout the rest of the match. We saw 7-Eleven take this map and they looked very dominant, and as soon as, because remember, these teams don't know each other that well, so it kind of takes a little bit for each team to figure out exactly how they want to play and what works best for them. So they might have practiced, maybe like, I think we're looking at most like 4 hours worth of practice, two sessions for these teams coming into the tournament. So when you get into this match situation, suddenly you get faced with a team that's also putting in that much effort, and you have to figure out on the fly what works, and that can take a couple of maps for you to find that rhythm. It's going to be interesting to see how these teams how this match develops over time. So control is going to be important for setting the pace, don't get me wrong, but it's not necessarily going to be indicative of how the whole series ends up playing out.
Absolutely. And I mean, you talk about the practice and how important that is, but thankfully, most of these players, even if they aren't on a team, they are most likely kind of playing the competitive mode. So they've been playing these maps for some time. They do have a fairly good idea of what, the map geometry looks like, what places they can take advantage of, what high grounds, what cover, what routes they can be taking, all of that really nuanced, niche stuff. And of course, their individual skill, they don't lose that. That's part of how they play. So again, it really comes down to that strong leadership and how they utilize that knowledge and leverage it in a way that helps them, get those points. And that's kind of where I'm giving Crocs without socks. I nearly said Crocs in socks. Crocs without socks, the advantage.
I expect to be messing that up over and over and over again.
I just had like an image in my mind of like some crocodiles with little socks on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What a horrible
terrible.
mental image. Because I'm picturing actual real crocodiles.
Yeah, same. I don't know. I think it's kind of cute. Maybe I'm just weird.
It is I've changed my mind. Socks and slippers, actually. I think that is ideal.
Pantoffels.
We are jumping into our first map here, Lijiang Tower Control Center, Naori. Brawl favorite map here, you'd have to think, in all likelihood.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. This is one of those maps where you really need to get into the thick of it because there's no open space. It's so closed off that anything that isn't brawly is not going to work out too well. And of course, DPS Mei is a massive favorite on this map because of how closed off it is. All those choke points that you can abuse. You can get some really great wall off the enemy team, wall off one person, get that initial pick off, get that one-man advantage. You can do so much with it. And immediately we can see we got dueling Reinhardts coming through here. We've also got dueling Zaryas. So yes, immediately we're going to have that brawl type composition. Interesting to note that we've got an Echo and a Doomfist versus a McCree and a Mei. And of course, the McCree Mei is the more favored composition. It is very, very powerful, and I'm not sure how the Echo Fist is going to work coming up into that because there's a lot of stun, a lot of CC, and of course that hit scan damage.
Echo Fist, is that its official name?
Yes.
Not so sure about that one. And to see the teams kind of move towards each other. Ooh, that's a counter charge. Nicely done by Amali here. Manages to put that Doomfist down a little bit, but nobody dying just yet. The team's getting very aggressive, and in the end it's Lime Oros who gets that first pick on the enemy main tank. That could prove key here in this team fight, the first team fight of this matchup so far, but nobody else going down. As I say that though, Pale Native finds the pick onto his opposite number. Palnatok gonna hit the deck there. Zarya getting a bit of that trade. Maestro though finds another pick. You mentioned how you didn't know about this Echo, but so far seems to be working out, at least in this first team fight.
The Echo doing some great work there. Of course, Echo does have a lot of spam damage, a bit of a glass cannon, as we've mentioned in previous games. You know, you very easy to deal with, but if she gets that damage off, she can just completely annihilate a team. And we've got the Echo on a bit of a flank here as well. It's going to be doing tons of damage from the back, but a rally to initiate could give a little bit of an opening here to try and get back onto point.
Oh, adaptive circuits coming out here. Graviton Surge, nice quick charge, and they have an extra Reinhardt. Shadow is blocked, and in fact, Shadow Script does end up getting a little bit of follow-up there, but there was a counter kill during the Graviton Surge. So this team fight not decided just yet, but I think with Amalia going down, the rest of his team's going to have to back up here. So Hammer's Kill going to secure themselves another percentage push up on Control Center.
Yeah, they really need to deal with this DPS duo, and they actually do have the perfect way to deal with it. They've got the Mei and the McCree. It feels like they're just possibly not putting enough resources into that, not helping the DPS, enabling them to get that value, because they're just giving so much free reign to this Echo right now, and Maestro is abusing that. He's been an absolute monster this match.
Yeah, Lime Oros not quite getting rid of that Echo like you'd think he's supposed to here, but Sargris gonna take matters into his own hands. Maestro does meet his end with a headshot.
There we go.
Another, both DPS hitting the deck on the side of Hammer's Kill. Sargris putting in the work here. He does have the Blizzard, but he's not even gonna need it, and that could end up being quite a big deal as we head into the next few fights, Nori.
I mean, I think that Sargeras probably had the same kind of thinking that I had. Like, okay, you know what? This is my job, and I need to do this. And he just came in, popped off, got the DPS down, and just like that, they made themselves a beautiful opening and took control of the point. Now we see them going in to hold close. They do have the Blizzard to try and make sure that Hammer's Kill can't make their way through this point here. They are going to have an Earth Shatter fairly soon, but need to be aware Zavania sitting on an Earth Shatter of his own, and if he can get a nice big one off, they only need to win one fight.
Yep, that is true. Maestro's on a big old flank here. That Shadow doesn't seem to find anything now. The Blizzard goes down. We saw Sargris holding that one in the previous team fight and immediately paying dividends. But on the point, there is a sneaky Maestro. You can't see that on your screen, but at some point, the point will start to flip, I'm sure. He's just hiding out. He's not even going for the cap. I like this, actually.
I think he's waiting to replicate from behind so that the Reinhardt shield can't get, any value, and he'll be able to replicate whoever he wants to. And then you create a little bit of a pincer situation. I quite like that. Now the Mei wall is wasted, and they need to get back onto point because they realize they have nothing to hold close with.
That Mei wall was actually key because Maestro initiated there, but he did end up finding a pick. Shadow Script finds another, so at the moment Hammer's Kill in control of this one. The Shadow goes down but doesn't find anything. Zavania gonna have to try again next one, but Pale does get the follow-up kill onto Amali. Finally a return kill here as Palnatok picks up that one, but Zavania's just gonna be swinging away with Toxin Socks, the last one in this team fight. Graviton Surge available for Palnatok. That might have to be used in celebration here because there's not much left in this one, Sam.
That was so well played from Hammer's kill. I think they actually waited. They waited for that May wall to come down. As soon as it came down, they, communicate that to Maestro. They tell him, okay, you can go. They're heading back to point now. Maestro makes the replicate. The rest of his team creates a sandwich from behind. And just like that, they managed to retake control of the point. It was so well played there. And a little bit of a misplay here from Crocs without socks. But we'll see if they can bring it back around in the next map. Because they did perform quite well here. I think once they kind of started to get their groove, as you said, it takes a minute or two to kind of get into stride with these players that you're not really used to playing with. You don't really know their play style. You don't really know how to better enable them. And once they started to get their footing, it did start to go a little bit better. It was just losing that May cooldown that ultimately shut them down. So now as we move over onto our next map, possibly this is where they kind of start to turn it around. We're immediately seeing one little swap off here, Toxin Socks onto that Lucio. Now this could be for one of those speed boost out of spawn, then swap back onto the Brig moments, or it could be a proper swap up as we see the Symmetra coming out from both sides. And of course, we do know that Symmetra teleport onto point is quite popular. Set up those turrets, create a microwave, and don't let the enemy team touch.
Yeah, Shadowscript still good running that Doomfist here. We saw him use that quite effectively. Otherwise, more of the same from the rest of the squads. Or both teams teleporting up. Oh, a little bit of a split up there from Zavania and Co. Oh, Zavania does find that first pick. Maestro gets a quick follow-up. So far, so good for Hammer's kill. They're the one picking up all the kills here. Shadowscript is going to look to get rid of this pesky May. Make sure she can't buy any time for her teammates to get back on point. And Hammer's kill are going to secure themselves a first point cap on Night Market here.
Very well played there. I think that the Batiste is really playing into their strengths here. He doesn't really need to be on point to be able to heal them. He can kind of lob those healing grenades from over a wall or whatever, so he isn't too much in danger of those turrets, and he's able to survive through a lot. And of course, there's the immortality field to keep his team up. I like that choice. And Adagio going down, like the first person to go down, you hate to see it. That's your Moira. That's your main heal out of the way. But now we see the swap off over onto the pharmacy here. They're going to try and get a ton of spam damage onto the point. Hopefully that'll be able to wedge them a pathway to get back onto the point and take control.
Yeah, doing a nice job here, finding that flanking angle, just pumping damage in from the side. Needs to get rid of that lamp. Okay, it does end up going down, and it's not being looked at even. This is such a good space for him to do a lot of damage. Lime is working his way towards that ultimate, but now the photon barrier comes down. Amplification matrix committed as well on the point here for Lolgod. So a lot of mitigation and a lot of damage coming out of Hammer's kill. Crocs.Socks down a player now. Again, the Moira going down early, but Tox going to make sure that nothing is permanent with that resurrection. And it looks like this team's just going to stabilize for a moment here. Amali is sitting on this Earth Shadow, getting healed up, but she needs more assistance. And now moving forward, he finds the Shadow, finds it. Nice job. And the Blizzard follow-up charges on through, but that might have been a little bit... Okay, he does find his double kill. He's going to get the photon on the Orisa, but unfortunately, he doesn't get taken down. Another photon barrier does come out. As you say, Maywall committed here, but not going to find anything. Shadowscript cleaning up with a double, and at the end of it all, it's only the blue DPS left on the point.
There was such a close fight there, and it was really looking like Crocs without socks were going to be able to make some headway, but there was just too much damage on point there. Shadowscript being an absolute monster on this Doomfist, getting pick after pick, really creating hassles in the backline there, particularly getting those supports down early, making sure that they can't keep their team alive, and that's exactly what you want to see from your Doomfist. He's doing a lot of work there, but we're going to start this off with the Coalescence.
Oh, yeah, Coalescence here. Pale Native does have the bongo. Should he choose to commit it, this could be the last fight, especially when you open up with a double kill like that. The resurrection comes through, but two more fall swiftly after that. Hammer's kill in firm control of this team fight so far. Peach gonna secure the kill onto the Reinhardt, and Hammer's kill gonna secure themselves a nice 1-0 lead here.
Oh, that was super unfortunate. We saw the Coalescence come out from Adagio, and it was like, okay, they're going to go for that big engage. And as they moved through the choke point, we just dropped the Earth Shatter. It came down, and there was just no way the Coalescence was cancelled. They couldn't get onto point there. Maestro, as we already know, just kind of popped off there on that Symmetra, managing to get tons of... Even if he wasn't getting those final blows and wasn't kind of popping up in the kill feed, those turrets was doing so much work to enable Shadowscript on that Doomfist to continue getting those kind of final blows. And of course, keeping the Reinhardt alive, the Batiste doing a lot of work there to make sure that Zvania wasn't going down and he could continue just swinging away and causing absolute mayhem. It was way too difficult for Crocs without socks. I mean, the first map was fairly even. The second map was just dominant. And I think that it really comes down to how they played that Symmetra. And it seemed to me that Hammerskill just had a better grasp on how to run that composition, and they just weren't able to deal with the enemy Symmetra as well as that Doomfist. That tag team duo, it was just way too much. Even with the pharmacy up in the sky trying to do the splash damage, get those turrets down, get some health pools down, and then hopefully do a little bit of cleanup, it just wasn't enough. Because again, that Batiste, man, that immortality field, there was just so much protection, so much healing, they just couldn't find a footing.
Yeah, absolutely. Something else to note, I think from my side, I thought Hammerskill looked extremely disciplined, actually. They didn't look like a team that was just thrown together. They looked like they've been practicing together for quite a while, actually. And you saw how well they executed their teleport compared to how just, slightly less disciplined Crocs without socks looked in that moment. And it made a big difference and started them off on the right foot. And a player who really stood out to me was actually Maestro. We saw him putting in so much work on the Echo on the first point. And then we saw, like you mentioned, the Symmetra on the second point. Really impressed by that, especially for a main tank player. Main tank players aren't supposed to aim. They're not supposed to be good at that kind of thing. You can't be good at main tank and be good at DPS. It's like not fair. What about the rest of us,
I mean, you know what? You get Orisa, and we had like strong Orisa meta for quite some time, and that taught main tank players how to aim.
Not a real hero. That's not a real hero.
Wow, that's kind of toxic.
Okay, well, our next map now, it looks like it will be King's Row, one everybody on planet Earth is familiar with, but one everybody loves as much as I do, I'm sure. So that's going to help these teams feel a little bit more comfortable in the situation. Sure, they don't know their teammates that well, but at least they'll be very familiar with the map.
And this is one of those maps that we tend to see, again, that kind of Reinhardt Zarya composition, but of course in increasing popularity has been that double shield of Orisa Sigma, because again, especially with one of these maps where you kind of need to create an anchor for your team, make sure that you're not giving up space, especially if you're on that defense. You want to make sure that you've got somebody that can, as I said, anchor themselves to that point and create a bit of an obstacle for the enemy team to try and get past. So that double shield really does create a great opening for that. And this is one of those maps that we tend to see a little bit of Torb on as well in recent weeks. Torbjorn has been quite popular recently, a bit of a niche pick, not something you see on every single map. I wouldn't exactly call him meta, but there are those moments where he can get a ton of value. Unfortunately, today it is not to be. It looks like here on defense, we're going to have Shadowscript back on that Doomfist. And, well, I mean, he's proven on the last two maps that he is absolutely terrifying on it. And I think he's going to continue with his plan of making the support's lives a living hell. Followed up with Maestro on the Soldier there, and if he can get some nice high ground positions. Again, Soldier he outputs so much damage, and I think if you can get yourself a nice position, if you can catch an enemy player out of position, get that nice quick clean pick off, especially if you follow it up with that rocket towards the end there, just get that clean up, give yourself the one-man advantage, you can really get a lot out of that. However, they are going to be coming up against, once again, same composition we saw before, the May with the McCree, and then of course the Moira and the Brigitte. I think the Brigitte can help with Shadowscript, but there's going to need to be some really good peel once Shadowscript is stunned out, because they need to get him down. He's already in the backline.
Native with very aggressive positioning and needs to be careful. Shadowscript, just tickle them a little bit and get on out of there. Longo finds the first pick with the Moira ball. That's not how you want to get things started here, and that gives Shadowscript the space to get nice and aggressive. Maestro finds the follow-up, so two players down here on Crocs without socks. They're gonna have to back up.
I loved watching how the Doomfist and the Zarya interplayed. Shadowscript in the background, they immediately Pale Native throws the bubble onto him so that he can't get stunned out, and he boops somebody up into the air, and I believe it was the McCree, because the McCree was so low and all it took was that Moira orb to get that one-man advantage. And again, just like that, the bubble onto Shadowscript, exactly what they need.
Yeah, really nicely executed here. Ziv needs to be careful. The ball comes down behind him. He is cut off. He does find the kill, but he gets taken down in turn. So Sargeras finds that first pick, but it is even here. But one team is missing their main tank, and that's not a position you ever want to be in. Shadowscript gets nice and aggressive into the mix here. Palmertok dropping so low. He needs to get healed up. Nice early Shadow, and there's no opposing Reinhardt, so he has all the space in the world to get that Shadow down. Finds one and the follow-up kill. Can they find any more? There's a meteor strike in the mix here. Need to be careful not to go. Oh, okay. Well, just gonna charge and out there, try and get a cheeky pin on somebody. Ryan is back in the mix here, Sylvania, but I don't think they're gonna be able to come and contest. Actually, Maestro decides he's gonna try and make something happen here. Both teams now, rather blue team initiating quite aggressively here. They think they can still take this, and it's looking pretty good. They find 2 picks and they pull the blizzard out, but it's not gonna make any difference here. Crocs without socks committing so much, getting 1.5 ticks, but they're not gonna move back with anything more.
That was super unfortunate. That nice early May wall to zone out Zivania was perfect, and they executed the next few steps so well. But once they got onto point, once they saw Zivania coming back with the rest of the team, it's like they got scared. They kind of pulled back a little bit, like, oh no, enemy team's coming back. Doesn't matter. You have control. Get aggressive. Get in their faces. You had ultimates to use. They even zoned out with the blizzard, but it still wasn't enough. Here, now we're seeing that aggression. We've got the rally coming through here again. Tox being that leading figure. Come on, guys. We got to go. We got to hit that W key, and let's see if they can make something happen.
Rally is a perfect name for that spot and the way they use it moving forward now. That's a big shot as Sylvania finds 2 straight off the back. Hammer's kill still in firm control of this match so far. They commit the sound barrier just to make sure everybody stays nice and healthy. Shadowscript working his way towards another ultimate. He's going to go for this last pick, but he doesn't have enough pellets in his fist to follow up on that one. But still, Hammer's kill in the driver's seat here.
Great hold from them. The Earth Shatter actually managing to get about 4 on their back, despite Amali still having his Reinhardt shield up and the nice little sound barrier to follow it up. But now, the Graviton Surge.
Maybe a little bit early there. Could have dragged that one a little bit longer, but they do end up winning this team fight with the Space Jam combination. Amali gonna get taken down. His Shadowscript so aggressive, finds the Moira with the uppercut. He's gonna get the follow-up with the punch onto Pale Native. Shadowscript uncontested so far this matchup.
And now look at these ultimates. We've got another Earth Shatter online for Zivania. Maestro's got the tactical visor ready, and there's a Coalescence. They're really equipped to deal with anything. Palnatok's going to be coming in here with that. There it is, the Graviton Surge. Can they get the follow-up?
There only finds 1. Shadowscript does find a kill onto Lime Oros. Doesn't even get a chance to commit that dead-eye. Sylvania with the charge on through. We might be looking down the barrel of a full hold here, as they've already picked off 4 on the side of Crocs without socks. It's just the Lucio left, and he's not going to 1v6. At least it's not very likely, Sylvania. Yeah, gonna make sure there's no shenanigans here. The ball will make his way onto point. Okay, Lime Oros with the double. Will that be enough for the team to get through? Tracer does just barely manage to touch the point, but I don't think it's going to matter. Maestro on this high ground, completely uncontested, just putting in damage from the back. And yeah, at the end of it, it is going to be only 1 tick taken here for Crocs without socks.
Seemed like that last engage was really frantic. We saw the Graviton Surge come out, and there was still a good 40 or so seconds left. They had a couple of seconds to kind of give themselves the opportunity to combo a little bit better, make sure that everybody was there and together. And it kind of felt like that Zarya just charged full steam ahead, threw out the grab, and was like, all right, team, I threw a grab. Where's the follow-up? And half of his team was still, halfway back at spawn. So that just doesn't work. You've got to be communicating that stuff a lot better. And of course, the grab only managed to pick up the Reinhardt, who immediately got bubbled and got a ton of healing from the rest of his team. The Coalescence came with the follow-up there, but the whole of Hammer's kill were very split up, so the Coalescence didn't get a ton of value. It felt like an offensive Coalescence, whereas they could have saved that for when more damage started coming through. So again, just felt really, really frantic, just really like, oh no, we've only got 40 seconds left, quick, everybody hit Q. And I think that in itself is a big issue that we tend to see a lot. And again, we kind of spoke about how these teams don't really practice together. It's not really they don't have that communication. They don't really have that teamwork. And as we mentioned, Hammer's kills seem to have a little bit more of that. Maybe they've practiced a little bit more together, hit a few more quick play games or comp games or whatever. And you can immediately see the difference that it's making. So now as we swap sides, we're going to be seeing that double tank that I spoke about a little bit earlier, but it's going to be the Reinhardt instead of the Sigma. And Pharmacy Widow on the offense here. We'll see if Maestro can get a nice quick early pick off there, get some value out of this Widow.
Looks like he's just gonna back up here and switch things up again. I mean, if you have this kind of lead, you can do whatever you want. Just take a few pot shots on the Widowmaker, make them move their positioning. But really, the real main issue here is Shadowscript in the sky. He finds the pick onto Adagio, and that puts Hammer's kill on the back foot straight away, or rather, Crocs without socks on the back foot straight away. They lose another one. Thankfully, they had a spare main tank, so not too much going down there, but they've lost 3 players now. Make that 4. Not looking good here as Maestro has switched onto the Doomfist. The only kill I think that Hammer's kill will be Crocs Without Socks will be getting is that Hanzo. Lime Oros also committing. Okay, they're coming back in here, so maybe I spoke too soon, but they just lost too many players so far, and they're just trickling more. Okay, they did manage to build a shatter up. They're coming on in. Now the ball committing as well, but they're 2 split. This is a really good push from Hammer's kill, and they're going to secure themselves another map win here. It's a quick series so far, Nori.
That's kind of what I was talking about earlier. We saw the same thing from Crocs Without Socks. I nearly said Toxin Socks. They pushed onto point. They had control. And then as soon as Hammer's kill started coming back, they got nervous and they pulled back. They're like, oh no, enemy team, what do we do? Hammer's kill, on the other hand, when they came through for their offense, they stood on point. They stood their ground. And as the enemy team started trickling back, they dealt with it. When the enemy team starts coming back, that's not your cue to hit S. That's your cue to hit W. That's when you really, really need to put your feet, like dig your heels in the sand and make that stand to make sure that you maintain control of the point. And that's exactly what Hammer's kill did. Nice, quick, swift take from them. And I believe this is a best of 5.
Yes, it is best.
Yeah, so we're going to be going on to a map 3, and this is potentially a match point.
I mean, it is match point, one way or
But
another.
only if they win.
Exactly. Yeah, fair enough. It's match point for one of the teams. Again, very impressive, disciplined play from Hammer's kill. I'm so impressed with how they're playing. We spoke about Crocs Without Socks and how they've got a really obvious, strong leadership figure in Tox in Socks. But so far, you're looking at Hammer's kill, and they look like the team who has a strong leadership figure. So I wonder who's doing most of the calling and decision making on that team, or if it's a bit more spread out. There are a few options there. Zavania, obviously, as the main tank. That's often a role you see being quite vocal in decision making. Maestro, though, a main tank in his own right, so perhaps contributing quite a lot. Pale Native as well, captain of his team, Calypso. So all these players can contribute, and I think them all being nice and balanced on a similar level means they're mixing and matching quite nicely, and it's showing really, wow, the words are not coming to me today. They're putting on a really good performance today, and I'm interested to see how they look going forward. But this matchup isn't over yet. So what do you think Crocs Without Socks need to do here? What do you think they need to fix up in order to take the fight back to Hammer's kill?
That's the big thing. Leadership is one thing, but leadership means nothing if the rest of your team aren't necessarily communicating effectively. You need to be calling things out. You need to be saying, Zarya doesn't have bubble anymore. May used her wall, whatever. Those really, really important things, like what we saw on Control Center a little bit earlier, where we saw the May wall come out, and that was clearly communicated to Maestro, and so the team moved in as a unit. And that kind of information is very, very important. So maybe the leadership isn't the biggest issue. Maybe the biggest issue is that the players themselves aren't communicating too well. So I think that's definitely something that they're going to need to make sure that they have on point here if they're going to be trying to take this next map. And of course, the next map is going to be Rialto. So maybe they're also going to want to swap up those compositions a little bit. The May McCree doesn't tend to work out quite so well on Rialto. It does work, it is viable, but once you get into that courtyard, the May kind of starts to lose her value because it's so open area. The McCree you could still potentially get value with because there are, fairly decent sight lines, and there's every possibility you're going to be running into a pharmacy. But also they might want to look at something like double sniper, something that can create some crossfire, create some angles, maybe get Hammer's kill out of their comfort zone, because right now they've been feeling very confident, very comfortable. Doesn't matter what they run, they feel like they kind of have free reign. I mean, they were running a Doomfist and an Echo into a May and a McCree, and they were still getting value, and they know that they can get away with it. So Crocs Without Socks need to start leveraging their DPS, leveraging their composition in a way that's going to make Hammer's kill a little bit more uncomfortable, so they can start taking that space away.
Yeah, something else to notice is that Hammer's Kill have a lot of players with competitive experience playing on teams currently. Compare that to Crocs Without Socks, rather. Two of their players are not even currently on teams. Palnatok, of course, does have quite a history in the scene. And the rest of them, not including Tox, are all on teams that are just starting out now, Risen and Solo, who haven't even played their first matches, official matches as a team. So you can kind of see how how much of a difference that makes when you've got like guys like Maestro, Shadowscript, Pell Native, and Sylvania on the other team. They look like a well-oiled machine because they're used to playing in these kinds of scenarios, I think.
There's that pharmacy that I was talking about a little bit earlier, coupled with the with the Torbjorn, which again can get quite a bit of value as well. But it looks like we're going for a little bit of a dive composition here from Crocs Without Socks, and that could be exactly what they need to get Hammer's Kill out of their comfort zone.
Absolutely. Shadowscript, though, making Toxic Without Socks. The red team, making them very uncomfortable here, getting the pick straight off the bat here, not really even giving them a chance to get the car moving in the first place.
We got a potential sky battle here, as they do have the Echo do Crocs Without Socks. So, oh, there we go. Nice little swap over there onto the Ash. Lime Ora is going to be trying to deal with that pharmacy in the sky, because, of course, that has been creating a lot of difficulty for them. Yeah. And with the concussive blast, they can get some environmental kills, or Shadowscript can just go into the backline and kill Tox.
Or Shadowscript can just get a kill all by himself in the backline, and that pretty much ends the team fight right there. They didn't even give me a chance to break things down here.
I'm sorry, there was just nothing, you know, when the Lucio dies, that's your go fast button. When you don't have that, well, back we go. They are going to take a moment here to try and regroup a little bit. They've even got Adagio on the Ana here. They've got a lot to deal with this pharmacy, but Shadowscript is using this cover so well. He's just not giving them the opportunity to get any value. Oh my lord.
Well, that's not how you start a team fight, or at least not how you're supposed to start a team fight. Again, Shadowscript just decided he's not even going to let me talk this game. There's no team fights happening. There's nothing to talk about. He's just getting these picks straight off the bat. Although they are sticking around here on the side of Crocs Without Socks. Look, on the red team. I'm not even going to say his name anymore. It just drives me insane. And now they're finally starting to get some picks. Shadowscript with his ulti there, but he gets taken down pretty much straight away by Lime Ora. So that Ash paying dividends here. The Echo also putting in a bit of work, and finally Hammer's Kill gonna be pushed back, and Crocs Socks red team gonna be pushing forward here.
You know what, that's the thing. In that previous engage, the Lucio going down, that's important. You need that speed boost. But in the second engage, your Ash going down, you still have spawn advantage. You've got your Lucio, push W, get forward. Oh, was that the last minute contest?
It doesn't find anything. Lime Oros here on the Ash, just going to be pumping the damage. We committed the Bob as well, and it is getting kills. It gets 2 kills. In fact, the Molten Core committed in the opposite direction only finds 1, or at least only finds the mech, but Amali going to be dropping here, so Shadowscript back in the mix, but Saga is making short work of the enemy. Farah Peach going to go for that res, doesn't end up finding it, but pays with his life. Shadowscript now is back in the mix courtesy of that res, but immediately Saga is going to take him down, make sure he doesn't get any value. But now a lot of tanky heroes back in the mix here, a Brigitte, a Diva, a Torbjorn, and a Reinhardt. Nothing easy to kill as far as Crocs Without Socks are concerned here, and it looks like they're going to be pushed back a little bit as Pale Native finds his opposite number in the form of Palnatok, but now it's an boosted Reinhardt on the front line. Lime Oros finds a return kill. Starting to look at it again here for Crocs Without Socks, but the resurrection from Peach gonna undo some of the good work they've been doing. You get the boot kill onto Shadowscript, and immediately followed up by a 4K for Hammer's Kill. Suddenly it all unravels for Crocs Without Socks.
That was really unfortunate, because they were so close to capping. They had the Bob out. They managed to dodge most of the Molten Core damage. I think the Diva losing mech there was actually instrumental in them losing out that fight, because they lost so much damage mitigation. But they still have a couple of seconds to go here. They got a couple of ultimates to work with. They're about to have a Bob any second now. Going to start things off with that self-destruct. Close, but no cigar.
Going to get a lot more value, but it actually ended up finding nothing. A lot of shield work there from the Reinhardt. Okay, they duplicate the enemy Farah and don't really find anything. The turret getting rid of them. That's not really what you want to see. And there's the real Farah, and that's a real triple kill. That's not how you want to get things started out if you're Crocs Without Socks here. And Hammer's Kill on continuing their dominant run here as they full hold Crocs Without Socks on first point of Rialto.
Very well played there. As I say, you know, that Diva D-Mech in the previous fight was instrumental, and then the second fight rolled around and they just could not quite get a footing. I think that possibly a replication should have happened onto the Reinhardt, but again, you can't replicate through shield, so possibly we just saw him replicate whoever he could find. Just
Yeah.
pick somebody and try and make something work with that. The Pharah did not work out, and then we saw quite a few ultimates still online for Hammer's Kill. They threw out the Molten Core, which Maestro had built up really, really quickly from the previous one. It was literally one Molten Core per fight. Built that up, initiated the fight with the Molten Core, which starts to deny space. Once you don't have space, you can't really rotate too well. You really struggle to find where you can hold from, pushes you into uncomfortable positions. And as soon as they kind of got pushed, they literally had their backs against the wall. And once they were in that position, Shadow Script drops that barrage, gets that 3k, and just like that, the fight's over. So
Yeah.
I love that composition because it does so much to deny space, to deny any sort of angle for you to try and work with. Once that Molten Core is down, unless you have something like a sound barrier or a rally or something to help keep you up as you cross through the molten lava or whatever, you're really going to just struggle to find a good position, a good footing. So good composition there. And now as we swap sides, it looks like we could be going for a little bit of a Bastion, but it's not Pirate Ship. Because, I mean, they don't have the double shield. You know what?
No.
I'm questioning this. I'm questioning it.
Split composition here. They're running the 3 on card and then the 3 kind of dive heroes on the side. So splitting the angles here, creating a horrible crossfire to deal with. And you see immediately Lime-O's taken out there by the Pharah. Maestro on the point here, not really contributing much, but he is taking a lot of the attention away from the people on the other side. This is how you want to execute this composition. It doesn't always work when teams are very well synergized, but against a team that hasn't played together that much, you can really split them up and make them uncomfortable.
Usually with a comp like this, you kind of deal with the Bastion first and ignore the Pharah in the sky, just keep yourself healed up. But when that Pharah is Shadow Script and he's causing so much issue in the back line and making sure that your healers can't do their jobs, it makes this composition so difficult to deal with. I mentioned the crossfire with double sniper. Well, we're going for a crossfire with the Pharah and the Bastion, and it seems to be working. It's doing wonders.
Yeah, it does seem to be working. Oh, the charge comes to the Bastion. He does find that kill, but I imagine he's going to get raised right back up here. Yes, he is. So back up to basically full fighting complement here on the side of Hammer's Kill. Ultimates coming all over the place for the blue team. They're just going to clean up here in a matter of moments, and with the most dominant performance I've seen in a long time, Hammer's Kill going to secure themselves a 3-0 victory.
That charge would have been so worth had they been able to deny the res. But unfortunately, the res came through, and despite, I mean, even if Maestro had stayed down, there were still so many ultimates available. And purely because of that, even if Maestro had stayed down, they probably still would have been able to. We saw the Primal Rage come through right at the end there. That would still been able to boot people left, right, and center and kind of knock them all about the place. So that last fight was just, it was really well played. And I think what really helped them out there is, you know, you've got that spawn advantage. And this is something about these escort type maps. Once you're kind of on a bit of a roll, if you're on the offense, even if you lose your first fight and you have to change things up, you have time to do it. Yep. But if you're a defending team and you're in a situation like what we saw right now, where you need to stop that cart before it reaches even first point. If you wipe one time, you can maybe get away with swapping up your comp and coming back, but you're going to be behind on the ult economy, and it's not really going to make a massive difference. And that's something that Hammer's Kill really used to their advantage. They knew they could come out with something a little bit more cheesy, have that crossfire from 2 angles. If it doesn't work, we go back, we try something new. But they knew that if it did work, there was no way that Crocs without socks were going to be able to mount any sort of proper defense. So they played that really, really well. A nice, solid victory here for Hammer's Kill.
Using the oh my god, it's the worst. Using the advantage they built up on their defense by holding them so early really gave them the opportunity to kind of do whatever they wanted with their strategy. So very well played from Hammer's Kill here. I think throughout the series, the more dominant of the two teams, and very impressive. Actually, I think one of the strongest teams going forward, in my opinion. Obviously, we'll see all the teams, most of the teams by the end of the day, and we'll be able to properly rank them in our mental power rankings. But so far, a scary team and one to watch out for going forward. And speaking of watching out for people going forward, Naori, you have to give me a player of the match.
I don't know, I'd have to do that today. Okay. I'm kind of torn between Shadow Script and Maestro. Both really, really, really solid DPS players. But I think I'm going to lean towards Shadow Script because his Doomfist was disgusting. His Pharaoh was terrifying. He really, really performed out of his mind here today.
I can't disagree with that. I think definitely the two standout performers were Shadow Script and Maestro. I think I always like to look at main tanks as well. I think Zivania did his job well, Pale Native as well, but ultimately I agree. Shadow Script of the two DPS really stood out. The Doomfist was just so difficult to deal with, and the Pharaoh was also on another level. So he's the guy you're going to have to deal with if you're coming up against this team, I think. So we are going to try and get an interview with him. We will drag him on up here and chat to him, get his thoughts. But just to remind you guys, we do have matches happening all day today. Our next match is at a time slot.
3 o'clock, yeah.
3 o'clock, yes. I believe you and Cloudburst are covering that one.
That's correct.
Okay, so
Hello?
we get to see more of Naori's lovely face, and we are joined by Shadow Script. Welcome and congrats.
Hey, what's up? Thanks, man.
So,
What
how
a
did you-
spicy match, jeez.
It was actually like our comms was all over the place at some points of the match.
Didn't
Well,
seem like it. You guys
yeah,
seemed
it didn't look
hella
like it at all.
composed.
I mean, what you see and what you hear is two different things, right? So
Yeah. So how do you feel about that match? How were you expecting coming into it? Did you think it was going to be a lot closer than it ended up being, or were you guys feeling quite confident in your roster?
I mean, we played a few games like to warm up as a team early on. We just said just do the basics, right? We just practice basics, and we had Maestro and myself on DPS to cause pressure and make space for our tanks. And I love my supports. I think our supports deserved MVP, to be honest. Like they were on point today. I don't know what happened, but they were on point today. Like yesterday's match didn't go as well, but we played well. We took it on the chin, dusted up, got up, and we played together. Like we only played one quick play game today, and I think we did well. Like I'm proud of my team.
That was a good warm up.
Okay, well, looked very good. Any questions for you, Sam?
Yeah. So tell me about that Bastion Pharaoh shenanigan that we saw on Rialto. Was that something that you guys had planned beforehand, or were you just like, we got time, let's see if this works?
Actually, no. It was Ziv comes with his scuffed ideas. He said, he's got a scuffed comp, and I said no because it's Ziv, right? Like he's questionable everything he does. So I'm like, I'm gonna give him a chance, this dude, because he said pharmacy. I said, okay, if I get to play Fire, I'm happy. Then it worked. Like we create pressure from both sides, so we knew the team, if they dive the Bastion will do damage, and the dive can do damage on their backline. And if they dive us, we move back, and Bastion still does damage. So either way, the Bastion wins. So we were fine with it.
Well, yeah, it definitely
worked.
showed. It definitely paid off there. So going forward, if we look forward, you guys played the Grant Hindenburgs yesterday, right?
Yeah.
How did that match go?
We played off the first map went well in Lijiang. We're undefeated. We're happy with that. But the others, I think we got overwhelmed. Like we felt too comfortable, and we just laid back because our first game we won. And then it didn't go as planned. But I guess we learned from it. Some of us VOD reviewed it and picked out mistakes, and we patched up, and we won today.
Wonder View, that's impressive. For like a pug tournament, that's I love it. I'm here for it.
I mean, we said we're going to play for fun, but we just also don't want to like make stupid mistakes, Because
Yeah.
You can always learn from it for sure. So going forward, who are you looking forward to playing? Which team are you scared of playing, and which team are you excited to play?
Actually, to be honest, when the rosters came out, us as a team, we was in Discord, we chill. Like we're not really scared of anyone because we respect everybody, but we shouldn't be scared of anyone at the same time. Show them respect, but just play your game. That's what I always told the team. Just play your game and have fun. That's what we're here for. So we're not really scared or looking forward. We just want to play. Whoever comes out.
Yeah.
So we just take it as it is.
That actually kind of reminded me. So who's your main IGL? Who's your main shot caller on the team?
We wanted to be Ziv, but it's all of us. Whatever we see, we call. If someone's low, like it's in the game sense, but we give the lead to Ziv, as he's the main tank. We leave it to him.
That makes sense. Yeah, I think Sun, you actually mentioned something like that.
Yeah, I think it's often the main tanks, the guys making the calls, so that is not surprising.
So all other teams, now you know who to look out for. He's getting it down.
Well,
But then again, we have Ziv. We don't really trust him, but we have to. It's questionable. His charges.
Poor guy.
Yeah, a few questionable ones there, but I mean, you can't argue with the results, right?
No, we can't. I think the only reason why we won like this is because we played to have fun. You know, we just played our game. We didn't worry about we have to win. We just sit back, feel the hero you're comfortable, and just play the game.
Awesome. That's really good to hear. So, any more questions from you, Sam?
No, I think that's me done.
Awesome. So before we jump into pimping the socials and all of that, I want to run you guys through the recent results that we have. So obviously we had a game on stream yesterday. We had Angang versus another team, and they did really well. Angang versus 7-11. They ended up taking that 3-1. Really strong performance by 7-11, one of the teams to watch out for now, alongside Hammerskill in that Group A matchup. In Group B, we have Rebellious Teabaggers. They beat Daddy's Home. I'm not sure what the score was on that. And in Group B, we have, we just spoke about now, the Grant Hindenburgs beating Hammerskill, and Crocs Without Socks taking a loss to Prideful Shifters as well. So you guys actually both lost your recent matchups, and now Hammerskill comes out with the W here. So that's been our most recent results. Of course, we do have matches going on right now, but this is almost certainly the first match that finished because you guys were so dominant in your defeat of Crocs Without Socks. But we do have a match at 3 o'clock, like I mentioned. Who is playing in that match? That will be... Well, my sheet is broken, so you'll have to wait and see and show up on time and tune in for Naori and Sam.
For Naori and Sam?
Yeah, Naori and Sam, and then also Cloudburst. It is Daddy.
Me and my split personality.
Yeah, exactly. All Naori's personalities, and then also Cloudburst. It is Daddy's Home and versus Lunatic High, so we'll get to see Daddy's Home. They put up a really good performance yesterday, and Lunatic Hello playing their first game. Well, their second one now. So yeah, that should be a fun matchup. Interesting to see more teams play out. But before we sign off for now, Naori, why don't you tell us where we can find you?
At Nari Mizuki. That is where I'm at. Any social media platform, if I happen to have it, that's where you'll find me.
Awesome. That is the place to go. And then, of course, we shouldn't forget about our players. Shadow Script, where can we, if we want to keep up with you, where can we find you?
You can find my Scuff streams on Twitch on kill_switch_10 and Twitter at ekillswitch10.
Wait. Kill Switch? When did you name change?
A long time back, sometime back.
Bruh. Okay. This is one of my boys. Been in the scene forever. Okay, players need to let us know when they name change. This is some nonsense. Sorry, carry on.
Captain Ma'am, yeah.
Okay, awesome. So that's where you can keep up with Kill Switch. The teams don't have any social, so don't need to worry about that. We do, of course, have Peachy Boy on, the real Peach, not the fake Peach that was playing in this game.
Fake Peach.
We have Peach on the sticks today doing the production, and he's done all our overlays and all that good stuff. So if you like what he's doing, head over to @thepeachtoday on Twitter, and of course the Peach Today on Twitch as well. He does stream occasionally, so you can get some eyes on him there. Please give him a follow. My name has been Sun Phoenix at Sun Phoenix, SUNPHEONYX. You can follow me on Twitter, and that's pretty much the only place. And then, of course, if you want to keep up with all your South African Overwatch needs, we're doing updates on the Pride Cup, all of those kinds of things, as well as other real tournaments. Not that this isn't a real tournament, but competitive tournaments with real pre-made teams and all that good stuff, and you'd like to see what the top tier South African Overwatch looks like, you can follow us at ZA Overwatch on Twitter, or head over to our Discord if you want to get involved in more things like the Pride Cup and just in general South African Overwatch. Head over to our Discord, COWSA on Discord. So that's pretty much everything. Tune in at 3 p.m. in 2 hours and 6 minutes, and you get to see some more Pride Cup action. We'll see you then.
Like when you fuck with my mind, like that we're wrong, can't keep it right. No, no. Poison, but we're perfect. See the revenge in your eyes. Spare the goodbyes, replace them with fights. Oh, put a gun, hand on the trigger. Can't pull the trigger, consumed by a figure. Me and you make one messed up masterpiece. Disaster-filled dream bound to be gone up in flames. You know I love the pain. We're going up in flames. We're going up. We're going. Twice round, you come round to me. Bound to be bad for me. Bad for each other. Keep making your messes mine. My mind is just mad at the time. Down for this fire. They strike the lighter. We're going up in flames. You know I love the pain. We're going up in flames. We're going up. We're going.
Nothing seems the same. Always on the go now. Never seem to slow down. You've been playing games. You don't pick up the phone now. When you know I'm never home now. Tell me when am I gonna see you? 'Cause I've been missing your body right beside me. Tell me when am I gonna see you? You've been driving me crazy. I can't take this. All I wanna do is be right there for you. Be right there with you. All I